Are you in or are you out? After meeting with his father, what to make of reports that Harry is heading back to the UK?
Harry has a lot of charities and causes here that he cares deeply about. We saw that in the recent visit.
Does he want to swap surfing on a Californian beach for coming back? The answer to that is no.
Prince William opens up on a trip to the pub.
I'd say 2024 was the hardest year I've ever had.
How do you handle a problem like Andrew and Fergie?
Her path to royal redemption is over now.
I think, a lot of people, like you say, have been asking, well, what can the king do?
We're joined in the studio by the woman that modelled the king's clothes at Fashion Week.
I'm a royal correspondent and I never expected to model the king's dress.
Maybe next year.
And
Maybe
won't.
next year.
And together we'll be delving into the royal archive to the time when the Queen joined the Queen of Fashion on the front row. Hello and welcome to Talking Royals. I'm Charlene White, and as ever, every single week, I'm joined by our royal editor Chris Shipp and royal expert Lizzie Robinson. And also joining in this week is India McTaggart, who is the royal correspondent of the Telegraph. We've gone highbrow today, India. Highbrow. Right, how's it been this week, guys?
Well, not just royal correspondent for the Telegraph, but did something quite important this week.
Also did something very important this week, which we're going to get to. You were the King's fashion muse. You were the King's model this week.
Temporary model.
For London Fashion Week with my mate Jane Moore from Loose Women.
I really loved the headline in the Telegraph. It said, "I am a royal correspondent. I never expected to model the King's dress." And I thought that headline could apply to me as well. I'm a royal correspondent and I never expected to model the King's dress.
Maybe next year.
Maybe next year, Chris.
Oh,
Maybe
you never know,
next year.
Chris.
Maybe they'll do men's fashion
I could
next
see
year.
you in a sustainable frock at London Fashion Week next week. You never know.
Sustainable pants, maybe.
We are going to put it out there into the heavens and into the universe, and hopefully it happens.
And hopefully no one will take up your offer.
I really hope
Anyway.
someone does. Right, so it was a quieter week because the King and Queen weren't around that much, were they?
Yeah, King and Queen have been up in Balmoral this week, continuing with their summer break post-state visit. So a slightly quieter week, although a very poignant one, as we'll get on to a little bit later.
Yeah, indeed. And Harry was back in the headlines again.
Well, Harry was in the headlines and the House of York was in the headlines as well, and not for all the right reasons. So we can say quiet week, but with this lot.
No week is ever really a quiet week. And the headlines regarding Harry this week is, allegations that he discussed a half in, half out type scenario with perhaps moving here for a little bit longer and having, part royal duties, part personal duties. But we've talked about this before, no?
We have, and we can actually have this section really, really short. Is he coming back to work as a member of the royal family?
No.
Move on.
Because half and half doesn't work, India, does it?
It doesn't work, and the late Queen made it very clear that it would not work, and it won't work with the King either. What we are going to see, though, potentially, is him coming back even quarterly now to London. He's made clear that he wants to come back a lot more, and that will be up to his patronages here, the charities here, whether they want him to come as they did in September for the Well Child Awards. So it will be on that kind of a basis.
Yes. Harry has a lot of charities and causes here that he cares deeply about. We saw that in the recent visit, and I think he would like to come back more frequently to see those charities and support those charities. We also know that Prince Harry would like to see more of his father. He said that himself in his own words. He said it in a BBC interview earlier this year. He said it to The Guardian just recently that the focus for him over the next year is his father. And, when he was here recently, he did have that meeting with his father at Clarence House. And I think he would like to continue to see that developing.
But the reality is, Chris, a lot of people have spoken about the time that he was here in London, and it was a little bit like a royal visit.
We said exactly that on the podcast, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago? We also said that we got the impression, just from what Harry was doing, how he was acting, but also from his close aides in this country, he wants to reconnect with the UK. This isn't just about his father. He knows that his relationship with his home country is broken, and he therefore wants to reconnect that. So that's also what's going on here. If, however, it was put to me, does he want to swap surfing on a Californian beach for coming back to do a royal job on a wet Wednesday in, I'm not going to mention part of the country because I live in somewhere in the country, then the answer to that is no. He doesn't want to do that, but he does want to come back here more often and certainly reconnect with this country.
You never know. There could be a point in time where that boy just gets bored of LA and California. you know,
That you can do too much surfing, can't you?
Yeah.
You can have too much sunshine.
sometimes you just want grey and rain and wind and ice and snow, quite frankly.
And he's welcome.
And that's what we love. So, as you mentioned, the other sort of royal that was in the headlines this week was Sarah Ferguson, regarding Jeffrey Epstein and alleged emails that claim that actually her good relationship with him lasted longer than she had first intimated. And as a result, several charities dropped her this week, right?
Yes, on Monday there were 7 in one day that decided they no longer wanted Sarah Ferguson to be their patron. But, you know, for all of us who write about the royals, but also sometimes we have to write about the Yorks as well, Prince Andrew is often in the headlines, I suppose it's no surprise that yet again here comes another example of the House of York having to apologise for something they've done previously. And in this case, it was the Duchess of York having to apologise for these emails. But, you know, calling Jeffrey Epstein, after he'd been convicted, her supreme friend.
Yes.
I mean, that's obviously why these charities, and the first charity to drop her was a children's hospice. And you know, we all know what Jeffrey Epstein was convicted.
Well, I mean, the spokesman for Fergie had said the Duchess spoke of her regret about her association with Epstein many years ago, and as they have always been, her first thoughts are with the victims. And there's some little calls this week for, you know, the king to do something to perhaps start icing them out. Is that likely, India?
I mean, what I was thinking this week and when I was covering the story on Monday was her path to royal redemption is over now. That this has put the nail in the coffin, I think, because as we know, the king has been welcoming her back into the royal fold somewhat. For example, 2023, she attended the Christmas walk, and that was the first time in 3 decades. And she was known to have convinced Prince Andrew not to attend Christmas lunch with the family last year. And for that, the king was very grateful. But now I think that probably, I'm not sure what he will do as a result of what just happened on Monday and the revelation of the emails. But I'm pretty sure that William will have a firmer hand. As we know, he has less patience for this drama.
I mean, you can imagine perhaps that, you know, just when they think they're going to have a bit of a calm period, you can't really predict when these things are going to flow and when these stories are going to be released. And it is just this back and forth where Epstein is concerned. It's not something the royals seem to be able to completely get away from.
It's just not going away for them, is it? No. And I think, you know, a lot of people, like you say, have been asking, well, what can the king do? Well, you know, they're not working royals. They have been appearing at family occasions. So, okay, you know, they might not be invited to those anymore. But the other question is Royal Lodge. Why are they still at Royal Lodge? Why has the king not kicked them out of Royal Lodge? That is a question we get asked all the time. Basically, he can't. Prince Andrew has said again and again he has a cast iron lease on Royal Lodge that he takes out from the Crown Estate. The king, therefore, you know, he has taken away his personal allowance, his security, to try and make it harder for Prince Andrew to be able to afford to stay at Royal Lodge. Royal Lodge comes with an enormous amount of upkeep, but so far Andrew has managed to continue to afford to live there. So really there is very little that the king can do at the moment.
The king's policy at the moment is to turn off all the taps, all the spending taps, if you like, no public funded security, and I'm not going to give you the money that your mother used to give you, and try and force him out that way. But clearly he's got other sources of income and he's able to stay there and pay the rent. As
we've said before, it's like watching a TV drama in real life with all this family strife. Let's move on to Kate and William, because they made a visit to Southport, didn't they? To a couple of schools in Southport in memory of the girls who were murdered in the attack at a Taylor Swift holiday camp that they were at. So they went to see the schools of Elsie, Bibi and Alice, and they do have quite a connection with their families, but also with the schools.
It's really hard to express how moving it was on Tuesday. Lizzie and I were both there, and I've had some conversations as well with people at Kensington Palace, and they said they can't kind of stop thinking about what they saw and the interactions that they had. William and Kate had private meetings with the parents of the 3 girls who were killed in that dreadful attack, but also met some of their former classmates. And we've got a bit of video here, and me and Lizzie were standing there watching these children describe to William and Kate their feelings and how some artwork that they were doing had helped them through that, but just listen to not just how eloquent they are, but just also the trauma that they'd clearly been through.
The rain represented our tears and how we couldn't stop them.
Where did the wolf come from?
Yeah, because we were alone and we couldn't share our thoughts. We didn't know how to express our feelings at that point.
Tell us a little bit about the final piece then.
In spring we became more happy and weren't sad anymore.
It really impacted you a lot, didn't it?
It did. We were both standing there listening to those children explain those paintings to Kate and William. And these children are 10, and to put those feelings into those words was just incredibly powerful. And I think you could tell for Kate and William, they really felt that too. And it's their second visit to Southport, but they said at the time of the attack that as parents that they just couldn't imagine what the parents of those children, but the community were going through. And William said again this week that they will always be there to support that community. And you could really feel that when they were there.
And that's quite an important element, isn't it, India, in terms of we can have terrible things happen in this country. And this was something that was particularly terrible for so many of us to watch unfold when we realised, the ages of the children that were involved was just utterly devastating. But for Kate and William to turn up and to show their love and to also show their grief, that really does have an impact on a community, doesn't it?
Oh, it really does. Just to go there to show their support. William made a brilliant speech at one of the schools there, and as Lizzie said, reiterated that they will always be there. And I think it makes a humongous amount of difference in such unimaginable circumstances for these parents. I thought one particularly touching moment was the friendship bracelets that Catherine and William received from one of the parents, which I thought was a really beautiful moment that they both put on immediately after the private meeting.
B.B. King's mother made them, and they were wearing these friendship bracelets, and also they were speaking in a playground. They've raised funds for this playground at Churchtown Primary, which is where two of the girls went. And one section of the playground is because Alice loves singing and dancing, and they've made a little stage and a nice little singing area. And the other for BB, who was so young, just a little place to hide. And her mother said, and I was really touched by this, her mother said afterwards, they just recognised the fact that BB loved to go and hide places from her friends. And there's this tiny little thing, she said, but it means so much to us that they've recreated this space in her memory.
And that playground actually... They've raised money for it. One of the fathers ran the marathon to raise money, but actually Kate and William donated to that to help raise funds. So you can see that sort of ongoing commitment that they've had. But, it's listening to the parents as well, speaking about being there in the playground and finding some sort of positivity in the darkness. It was, I think we both found it incredibly moving.
Right. I know that we did loads of the state visit last week, obviously. And that was quite fun. That was quite a fun episode last week. But then Donald Trump then went on to the UN. Very different vibe, Chris.
What do we say about the state visit? We laid on the thickest of red carpets. Everything was bigger and better than any other state visit before. Bigger bands, bigger fly past, bigger everything. And what happened? Well, Donald Trump went to the UN and said, oh, by the way, don't agree with Britain on their immigration policies. Your green energy policy sucks. Anyone who believes in climate change.
And also had another dig at London Mayor Sadiq Khan.
Yes, another one. He did one on the plane on the way home, but he said that's why he wasn't invited to the state banquet, because he didn't want him to be there. But anyone who believes in climate change, he said. Now, let me think of a prominent person who believes in climate change. Perhaps the King, who was hosting him last week. They are stupid people. It was quite extraordinary that suddenly you think, well, where did all that warmth and, the King set up this wonderful, scene for Keir Starmer and Donald Trump to have that sort of bromance and to get on. And what happens? Well...
it's just also just plain rude, one could say. I invite you into my home and then you do this 2 days later.
Yeah, you had the castles and the horses and the carriages.
One thing we like here is manners. Is that not right, Lizzie? Manners.
Quite. Something to tell him. Be grateful for what we gave you.
Exactly. But we had a lovely video sent to us earlier on today, didn't we? We've been rather excited about the Eugene Levy programme, in which William features. And we, out of nowhere, saw the trailer for it and realised that William was going to be in it. And this is The Reluctant Traveller. And earlier on today, we were given a clip of the series, which made us even more excited. So let's take a look.
Thank you. Why don't you pop down to the castle, William, from the Prince of Wales? Your Royal Highness.
Nice to see you. We provide this service for everyone. We do personalised tours everywhere.
What do you do when you're home?
Sleep.
Really?
When you've got 3 small children, sleep was an important part of my life. I'd say 2024 was the hardest year I've ever had. You know, life is sent to test us as well, and being able to overcome that is what makes us who we are.
So Eugene got a hand-signed letter from Prince William inviting him to Windsor.
And I love that.
Pretty epic.
When William's like, this is how we do all the tours at Windsor Castle. It's always me doing them. Just love that. Imagine turning up with your ticket and Prince William greeting you.
Have you ever had Prince William giving you a personal tour?
I haven't yet. I must go on another tour.
No. We need to reach the Eugene Levy status before we get our personal tour.
I do wonder if the email got stuck in my junk or something like that.
It's
I'm
there.
sure the invite is there.
Yeah.
I'll check it. It's a very relaxed William that we appear to be seeing in this series, which is quite interesting.
It is, and I think they're very aware that the royals need to appeal to a younger generation, and they've been looking at all kinds of ways to sort of to do different things where a younger generation might see the work that they're doing, see the people that they are. So I think it's very interesting that Prince William has decided to do this. And, in that clip, we see him opening up. He spoke last year about how 2024 had been the most brutal year of his life. His father and his wife, the Princess of Wales, both having cancer treatment. It was undoubtedly difficult for him, but he's clearly going to speak about that again here.
Yeah, but it's not just about a younger generation, though, is it, Chris? It's almost a sort of soft power type scenario. The Apple TV, the take-up on Apple TV in the UK isn't huge, but it is a lot bigger in the States. So it's also giving a softer side to him for American fans of the royal family, for example.
Yes.
In a country where Harry and Meghan already kind of have that sewn up.
You've got to look at actually across the royal family. The King's making a programme for Amazon at the moment, as well as Netflix. Here you've got William on Apple TV. So they are reaching out to media organisations that can give them a global platform, because at the end of the day, they are global figures. And no disrespect to any of our publications, but, we are part of the story, but they want to reach a wider audience, don't they?
Which is important at the moment, isn't it?
I think it's hugely important. Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned the soft power element to it, because as Lizzie said as well, I think they are really keenly aware of how to modernise the monarchy, how to reach the next generation, which is all their slick social media videos and their sort of behind-the-scenes footage. Catherine speaking directly to people through her nature videos now, and of course through her the videos she made during the cancer revelations as well. So I think that it marks a real shift in how they're communicating with the world and the public at large. And America is going to be a big part of that.
And if you look at any opinion poll at the moment, the older generation support the monarchy, the younger generation either don't support them, or what's perhaps, in my view, a bit more dangerous is they are indifferent to the monarchy, don't see the point, what's it for? And therefore, if you can't communicate your relevance to the younger generation, who will clearly get older, then you've got a problem coming down the track in the future. And it's something that William, as future king, will no doubt have to deal with.
And the reality is, Lizzie, it's not, I know we sort of joked about, how the access and being able to, we don't get to walk around Windsor Castle and all that stuff. The reality is, it is not easy to get a member of the royal family to just be in a TV programme.
It's really not. No, I mean,
it's go through a lot of hoops.
Yeah, you do, and you have to put forward something that they are going to look at and think, actually, that is good for me. Whether it's I can get some messaging about the work that I'm doing, the issues that I care about, or whether it's that I see that that's a good thing because I might be seen by a different audience or a different generation. They think very, very carefully about what they do, and they don't do a lot.
Now, the clip that we showed, we've done a bit of journalism and tracked down the pub. Yeah, we've done a little bit of journalism. I mean, it's supposed to be our jobs. To track down the pub that they filmed that clip in.
Yes.
Because you guys have spent more time in Windsor than I have. But so we really, We worked hard. Actually, what we did was
what you're asking is,
message.
do you go into that pub when you're in Windsor, aren't you? And well, the answer is, if the bosses are watching, no, we never go into that pub in Windsor because we're always working really hard.
Yes, they do go into that.
However, I have once or twice frequented the pub. It's called the Two Brewers, and it's just around the corner from what's called Cambridge Gate. So if anyone who knows Windsor, you've got the long walk, the big long path that goes up to a big gate where you can't go any further. And then if you turn left there's a little road and there's a tiny, tiny, cute little pub, and that's where they did the filming and the interview. And if you remember that earlier clip we had of Eugene Levy and William, it was about a question about, was it your plan to get drunk with Prince William last night? So maybe that's where it happened.
So now, a really important question for huge fans of the royal family. We've explained exactly where Two Brewers is in relation to Windsor Castle. So if a royal fan were to rock up, will they be likely to bump into a member of the royal family having a pint?
I mean, as Chris says, we have been on occasion for a water
slash Merlot
water, and we've never bumped into a member of the royal family. So
I'm told that William is not what you call a regular in that pub, but he has been there from time to time. So perhaps if you are in Windsor, there's a slim chance he'll be in there. On a wider point about this show, and we'll get the full episode very soon, is that I'm told it gives you a real insight into his life and his family life in Windsor.
Oh, I'm really looking forward to it. Now, in terms of an inside scoop, India, you walked the catwalk on London Fashion Week this week, but it really was to do with the king. You were wearing clothes that had a connection with the king. You were wearing the king's dress, not like an actual dress from his wardrobe, but just a dress that's made from bits and pieces found on his land.
Yes, so the designers, they are sort of eco-innovators, Vin and Omi.
Vin and Omi, yeah.
They have worked with the king since 2019, since he was the Prince of Wales. They are at the forefront of sustainable design. They actually like to consider themselves ideologists rather than fashion designers in a way, because they don't make clothes to sell. They make clothes to make a statement and to prove to the fashion industry that you can have textiles and designs that are sustainable, and you can keep innovating and using different waste materials. So the partnership that they have with the king includes getting free rein on his estates to all of the waste products, the materials that they might not use or that they have an excess of, nettles, horsehair, invasive weeds such as butterbur.
They make them into clothes.
And they make them into clothes.
And your dress was made with some kind of red barked dogwood or something.
Yes, it was red barked dogwood mixed with logwood, and they turned that. It's a woody shrub that's native to China, and they've made that into a dress, which is quite remarkable when you think of it, because it is a woody shrub, so it's difficult to turn into a textile.
Does it smell?
No, it smelled.
It's a fair
totally
question.
Normal.
Yes.
Does it smell woody?
No, and it didn't feel woody either. It felt like a beautiful material, and it was very structured and
You were
tailored.
saying there was another material they used from, was it Sandringham, which was like their old milk carton?
Yes, so they had a Sandringham milk carton dress as well.
Wow.
That was made out of literal milk cartons from Sandringham, and it was amazing because the material did not rip at all. Omi literally personally showed me and tried to tear the material, and he was like, it's such a durable fabric. So they are really innovative in the way that they design their clothing, and everything is to sort of make a statement, and that is the partnership that they have with the king. It's a marriage of minds on sustainability.
And so every London Fashion Week, do they show every London Fashion Week, and therefore there is a king's dress every London Fashion Week?
There has been for the last 3 years,
That's
yes.
incredible.
So that's what I've covered.
And it's amazing. I mean, we've talked before about the passions of the king, and sustainability being a passion and climate change being a passion decades ago when no one was talking about it. But it's a really interesting way, isn't it, of him showing the things that he's passionate about and loves and putting it to a new audience. And we know fashion brings billions into the UK economy.
We've just been talking about how they open up to different audiences, engage different audiences. And as you say, the environment and sustainability is one of the cornerstones of the king's work. And what is so clever about this is he is engaging people in a different way, looking at a different way of how we could be sustainable by sort of teaming up with Vinanomia.
Yeah.
I think it's a really clever idea on his part.
Do you remember we were at the COP, the UN Climate Change Conference in Glasgow, and he met with Stella McCartney, who's very famous for making products out of mushrooms, micellar or something, and it's kind of this is the kind of innovation that he likes, you know. So next week, Charlene, we're making your dress out of those plants on the table there.
Look, I don't mind that as long as it's not you designing it, because I can't imagine what you'd end up with, to be perfectly honest. But look, the connection between the royals and fashion is something, you know, that's long, not just about the clothes that they wear, but the appreciation they have for just how important fashion actually is within the UK. And the Queen even was on the front row, the fro, as they call it in fashion circles, the fro, at Fashion Week many years ago to show her support for London fashion. And that's the clip that we're going to show from our archive today. So let's take a look. There she is. So she is there with Anna Wintour. And this is, I just saw the date on there.
2018.
Yeah, 2018 that she was on. And that, I mean, the Queen, front row, London Fashion Week. That's big, right?
I love those pictures. The Queen with the Queen of Fashion, Anna Wintour. And even in the presence of the Queen, those iconic sunglasses are still on, aren't they? It's a great image. But yeah, like you say, fashion is... You know, the fashion industry is huge, and sometimes if a member of the royal family wears a little-known designer, it can boost their sales. They can use fashion for messaging, for support for countries, or support for, you know, the Princess of Wales last week at the state visit was wearing British designers to show her support for the British fashion industry. There's all sorts of subtle messaging that can go on there, but those archive images are great.
Absolutely brilliant. And you know, Lizzie can't underestimate the impact that the royals can have on, as you say, some little known, some more well-known fashion brands here in the UK. They're a huge part of selling Britain, aren't they?
Oh, enormously. I mean, they have literally been dubbed the Kate effect, and there was the Meghan effect as well at the time, when they would step out in anything and people would snap it up and sales would soar. And of course, as Lizzie mentioned, they are championing British textiles, they are championing British designers. So it's very important. It's an important part of their role, definitely.
Yeah. Anything you'd like to add regarding fashion, Chris?
I like the clothes that they wear. I think they're nice. No, listen, I'll say on a serious point. I remember, for example, when the late Queen went with Meghan, actually. You remember that big trip she made with Meghan to Cheshire? And that day she was wearing green, and it was the anniversary of the Grenfell Tower. So nothing is done by accident. And actually, one of the people you saw behind the Queen in that clip on the fro was Angela Kelly, or Dame Angela Kelly, who was the famous designer and also friend of the late Queen for many, many years, and had a huge impact on what she wore. And for the late Queen, colour was very important. There, did you like my fashion little?
I really did. And I'd like to... I'm going to give my own little insider knowledge regarding fashion. Chris got in trouble last week because his shoes weren't shined. And so someone backstage has had a word with him, and
we've got the polish out.
Shine.
Yeah, but my shoes are more on display than all of yours. If you look,
or even more. I mean, we've had complaints about you wearing trainers. We've now had complaints about.
Shall I come in bare feet?
Well, I just think when one's on a TV show, Chris, one has to think of the entire outfit.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And when you woke up this morning, you thought, I'm going to stand out on the TV show today.
Well, that's why I do the job I do, and that's why you do the job you do. But that's where we end. That's where we end today. Do we know if there's anything really cool, really interesting happening in the royal world next week?
What do we normally say to Charlene? Yes, there is, but we can't tell you.
But the Eugene Levy episode is out next week, isn't it?
It is.
The Princess
and we're going to a special preview of it, aren't we?
We are.
So we'll be able to talk with knowledge all about it next week. So make sure you tune in for that. India, it's been an absolute joy to have you on the show. Please know that you are welcome back anytime. It's been really lovely. And hopefully, maybe next time we could have the dress. I'd love to feel the dress. That would be incredible. So yes, back anytime. But thank you for joining us. You can catch up on more episodes of Talking Royals on ITVX or the ITV News YouTube channel. But we shall see you next week.